I'm Zane Redfern, home decorating enthusiast and creator of At Home with Zane. Oftentimes we hang banners on our mantles or mirrors for the holidays or different seasons. Today I'm going to share with you how you can create a banner that can be used all year long. I've created this banner. It was very easy, and there were very few supplies involved that are easily obtainable. So the banner that I've created is, as you can see here, how cute. It's made out of craft paper, jute twine, yarn, and scrapbook paper. You'll need some craft paper. I purchased mine from Michael's and it's part of the Recollections collection. You'll need some scrapbook paper, which I purchased mine at Walmart, and the two patterns I chose to use is this pale blue and white polka dot and then the cream and blue striped. You will also need a hole punch, some jute twine, which I got at Walmart, and also I'm using some cream colored yarn, and I also got that at Walmart. And then you will need a pair of scissors. The first step is to measure out how much of the twine you're going to need based on your mantle or your mirror or wherever you're going to hang it. And you also want to take into consideration the draping and also a little bit to hang it on the sides. So my mantle was 39 inches long, and I allotted for it to drape, and then I also allotted for the sides. So I cut mine down to 44 inches. So I recommend leaving a few additional inches after you've measured out the actual length of your space. For our next steps, you're going to want to create a template of some sort to mirror your other pieces out of. And so I've created a template of our craft paper, and I also created a template here of our scrapbook paper. The thing I love about handcrafted items is that they don't have to look absolutely perfect, and I think those imperfections are what really give it that personalization. So what we're going to do first off is take our template that we've already created, and I have one piece of our scrapbook paper here of our stripes, and what you want to do is you want to take your template of your craft paper and lay it down on top of your larger piece of craft paper, and you get, this piece has already been cut down, you get several of these out of one piece of paper. So you just want to lay down your little template here, and then I always like to put it over to the edge first so that I really only have two sides that I have to cut on. And the first thing that I do is I cut my larger piece down to a smaller size. Once you've cut your piece down to a smaller size, you just want to trace around the edges of your template, which I have resting here. So we used our template and we created one of our own. Very simple, only takes a few seconds to do. The next thing you want to do is use your template that you made of your scrapbook paper and do the same thing with your piece of the scrapbook paper that you've chosen to use. Now we have two templates for our scrapbook paper. The next step is you want to punch your holes in the top of your scrapbook paper first. When punching your holes, you just simply want to give it a good judgment in space on how far you think that they should be apart. If you have stripes or anything that's going to give you a little bit of a guide, that's always really helpful. The next thing you want to do is place your scrapbook paper on top of your template. You want to punch the holes on these together. You don't want to do it separately. The reason being is you want the holes of your scrapbook paper to line up with the holes on your craft paper. If you do them separately, clearly you're going to have probably 2 different hole marks. So go ahead and punch it into your first piece of scrapbook paper, and then you can use that as a template to punch the holes in your additional scrapping paper. And then you can lay your scrapbook paper on top of your craft paper. It's going to be very simple, and all of your holes are going to be very, very unison in their size and their distance. Now we have our holes punched in both pieces. Our next step is we're going to use some yarn. And I'm using yarn because first off, I wanted to have 2 different colors, and I also wanted to have 2 different textures. So the yarn is what's going to hold these 2 pieces in place. And again, you want to start by creating a guide. And so I've made a guide here for our yarn, and you would simply take your yarn, measure it out, and cut out all your pieces of yarn all at once. That way they're all the same size. You also want to make them a little bit bigger because you can always cut them down. Then you want to run your yarn through the back side of your hole. I always start with the left side of the hole here and pull it through, and then run your yarn through the right side of the hole and pull it through so that it looks like this. Then you want to tie a knot. And I did not tie bows, I just did simple little knots. And I just tied once, and then I tied an additional one. And now we have our yarn in place, our scrapbook paper in place, and we have our backing. The next thing you want to do is string this onto your jute twine. A really quick, simple tip is to take some tape and tape the ends of each side of your jute twine. That's going to help it from pulling apart and fraying as you're running it through. So what you want to do is take your little card, and this is important. You don't want to run the card through the back, okay? You don't want to run it through the back and then through the other hole in the front, because it's going to cover up your white yarn. What you want to do is you want to start by taking your twine and bringing it through the front side of the left, which will now be the right since I've turned the card around. You want to bring it through the front hole of the right side of your card, if you're looking at it in this direction. Pull it through and bring it back through the left side. That way your string is behind your card. But what you want to do is run it through the first hole first, then work it down the jute twine. If you put it through both, you have to pull the loop out and keep maneuvering it down. So bring it through one hole first, the first hole, drag it down, then bring it through your additional hole. And it's very, very simple. And then you just have them in place. Now, what I used as a guide to determine the distance between the two is I just simply took my index finger and did 1 finger space apart. It was a very easy way to determine the distance between all of my cards. Once you're all done, you'll have an adorable banner that looks like this, and these patterns can be used all year long.